Hey robot makers, hope you're having a good day so far. So have you heard about the RC2014, the Z80 powered computer kit? If you want to travel back in time with me to the Christmas of 1982, when I first got my hands on a ZX Spectrum, then this is the show for you. So let's dive straight in. My name's Kevin. Come with me as we build robots, bring them to life with code, and have a whole load of fun along the way. Okay, let me get over to our little keynote. We've got a couple of slides to go through, and then we'll get into a bit of a demo. And I'm also just going to fix that little light behind me because that's bugging me too. So let me just switch that little background setting there to red. There we go. Cool. This little light just over there, that corner that was bugging me. Right, okay, yeah, so let's magically, through the magic of YouTube, go back to the Christmas of 1982. Why Christmas of 1982? Well, Sinclair brought out the ZX Spectrum, the 82 version of their Z80 based processor back in April. I think it was April 23rd of 1982. So that Christmas, lots of people got their hands on one. It was actually my brother who had one of these for Christmas, a 16K version. I later had a 48K version. We got the upgrade, and then we even upgraded that to the 48K plus version, the sort of bigger, chunkier case. But this is an unusual project that we'll be looking at today. So let's just talk a little bit for a second about the Zilog Z80 processor. I've got a real live one just here. Let me just find that. It's just this chip just here. See the words Zilog there. That's a real live Z80 processor. I've also got another one on the desk that we'll have a look at. We'll have some live demos of in a second. So yes, this was released by Zilog in 1976. It's a really old processor. It's probably about half the speed, spec-wise anyway, as an Arduino Uno. So quite... I'll go on my desk just here, for example. So yes, it's kind of like the half the power of one of these. Get the official one out of one of these. So this is the Atmel 80 Mega 328P, which is also another 8-bit chip. But this is one chip that was used in all kinds of whole computers. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner there, we've got the Sinclair ZX80. That was the first one that used the Z80 processor. That was then replaced the following year by the ZX81, which had a little bit more power to it, and slightly different design. It was a bit thinner. And then for the year that followed that, the year that we got hold of our Spectrum, was 1982. So that was the ZX Spectrum, or the ZX82 as it was going to be called. So yes, this chip found its way into all kinds of 80s computers. So obviously the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, the TRS-80, MXS computers, the Amstrad CPC, Sega Master System, and the Game Gear, and also the Nintendo Game Boy. I've got one of those in the back of the room as well. The little sort of grayscale, 4 grayscale version. So what is the RC2014 then? So it's this little kit that you can buy from the UK. Spencer Owen, who I met at the Liverpool Makefest, I think about 3 years ago, he had a little stall and he was selling these kits. So I actually bought the Pro kit, the Classic Pro, which is just on my desk here. I'll try and get this out without all the bits falling out. So this is the backplane version. This you can see at the top there, it says Backplane Pro. And this is the sort of Classic Pro version of the kit. The kit comes with all the chips that you need. So you get all the memory chips, all the RAM, the ROM, the processor, and all the sort of ancillary chips. And they also come with these little cards, these little add-on cards. It makes quite a fun project to do. So we're not soldering this one today. That would be quite a long video if we did that. But what I have got is the sort of a miniature version. This is the RC2014 Mini 2, and this one has the same Zilog 80 chip on there as its sort of larger sibling, and it's got some chips on there we'll go through in a moment or two. So yes, this was, like I said, created by Spencer Owen, which is an amazing thing to be able to do, is to create your own single board computer based on this 1976 processor. Designed to be simple, hackable, and educational. So one of the main reasons for putting this kit together is to learn how computers work, and to kind of improve your skills of soldering as well, because that's one of the things you'll have to do. It's a very simple kit to solder. It's all through the hole, plated through the hole components. So you can see there we've got all these little resistors, a couple of capacitors on there. They're just for the that little silver chip, that's the crystal. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. And then these chips just simply push into place. There is, if I just grab this other board from over here, you have these little, what you call them, little chip insert pieces. So you simply push the chip into there, and it means you can pull the chip out. You don't have to solder the chip to the board, because that might damage the chip. These things are quite sensitive to any kind of static or anything like that. So yeah, designed to be simple, hackable and educational, and uses the same CPU as the ZX Spectrum, TRS-80 and the Game Boy, as we said. So yeah, if you visit that website that's just down there, RC2014.co.uk, not sponsored at all. I bought these with my own cash, like I said, about 2 or 3 years ago, and I only got round to soldering this kit this week. So I was very, very happy with this. It took me about an hour. I did record it, but for one reason or other, that footage is now no longer available. So what is in the big kit, the classic kit? So yeah, some assembly is required, and as I've said, got some of the major bits and pieces here. We could probably just go to the overhead camera there, and you can see the kit kind of in full there. So you get all these backplane pieces, you get the all the chips that you need, and you get all the things that the chips plug into, the little sockets, and the backplane itself. These aren't actually plugged in, these are just your usual kind of pin headers. And then you also get a couple of bags of bits. So one of the bags has all the pins in there. So these pins, they come in a variety of different shapes. So this one's like a dual 90-degree angle one, and there's all kinds of other bits and pieces in there as well. There's also some small passive components. So these are like the resistors, the capacitors that are there, little ceramic capacitors there, and then there's also some other bits, which is the it just calls them small parts. So it's really, really fun to put this together. And there's even on here a compact flash card. So that compact flash card there, you can see it's got a CPM, so you can actually run on a DOS-like operating system on there as well. So that's what you get in the full kit. I will be putting that one together this week probably. It's a bit of a fun project. But I did this one, like I said, on I think it was at Friday. So it took about an hour to solder this pieces together, but it's not too complicated. You can see I made a bit of a mess of the resistors there. They should have all been nice and flush, but one of them decided to sort of pop up a little bit there. Very, very simple to put together. The other thing I've got on here is a little FTDI. We'll talk about that as well. This connects this to my Mac so that we can actually program it, because obviously it doesn't have a screen or anything like that. It's just the processor board. So the best part of this is putting it together. It's a bit scary. There are loads of instructions on the website. It's very, very straightforward to do. I would say it's simple to do. There's just quite a bit of soldering required. So what can this board actually do? Well, it can run BASIC. BASIC is already installed on the ROM chip. There's actually several different versions of BASIC. We'll have a look at those in a second. It can run Forth, the more advanced programming language. We'll have a very short look at that. I've got a demo program that we can look at as well. And it has the Z80, so it can run Z80 machine code as well. You can connect to it using an FTDI, that's that Future Technology Devices International. This is essentially a chip that they manufacture that allows you to connect a USB device to kind of an old-fashioned UART connection. So this board has a little chip on there, this chip that's just to the side here. This one handles all the kind of input-output UART stuff. Might bubble out the way there. So yeah, the other kit that they on display there is the Classic 2 kit. So I think that one's slightly different than the one I have on my desk. We'll have a look at the website in a second though to see what else is available. So have a look at the specs that we have for this board. So the Z80 processor runs at a really unusual clock speed, 7.3728 megahertz. We'll talk about why that is in a second. It comes with either 32 or 64K of RAM, depending if you've got like an upgrade to that. The ROM has a basic interpreter on there. It's really quite cool. Works just straight as soon as we apply power to it. And it has the serial input-output, and that connects to USB via that FTDI cable that I showed earlier. And the backplane, if you've got the backplane version, that connects all the different modules together. And the idea is you can kind of whip out and whip in another component so you can upgrade your version of this kit. So optional add-ons for this, you can have the flash storage, which is what I've got. You can have some sound chips, so the AY38910 or SID chips. They're quite popular, I think, in the kind of computers of that era. I know the ZX Spectrum Plus 3 had one, and Plus 2, they had that one of the AY chips in there. And video output, you can have VGA or composite for video output as an optional add-on, and I think one of those is actually by the Raspberry Pi Pico, so you can plug in a Pico and that'll do the kind of VGA output. You can have a real-time clock as well, so that it can grab time, do kind of time-related stuff, and GPIO board, so you can actually connect to the real world and light up LEDs, push buttons, and all the kind of stuff that we're used to on a kind of modern single board microcontroller. What can it do software-wise then? So it runs Microsoft Basic, just like a 1980s home computer. We've got a couple of demos to play with in a minute or two. Runs CPM operating system. So the Mini 2 version that I've got does require an optional extra module to run that. I haven't got that on here, but I have on the larger one that I've not soldered together yet. You can play text adventures like Zork, for example, the original one. And you can program in assembly, Forth or C. Not too sure about the C language there, but you can certainly program in assembly, Forth and Basic. And it runs quite a few different basics on there. Microsoft Basic, I think some of the information on there is not quite correct. We'll have a look at all the different things that it can run in a second. There's a sheet, I think, on the next slide or two that shows exactly that. And then hardware projects, we can control LEDs, motors and sensors, interface with vintage hardware, learn digital electronics kind of hand-on, which is what I've been drawn to this project for, and you can even prototype some retro game hardware as well. So other reasons why we want to build this: educational, so understand how computers actually work. It's got me thinking about doing a couple more videos on more basic computer science stuff that I learned when I did my degree. So computer architecture, how CPUs work internally, so program counters, memory, address buses, all that kind of stuff. So this kind of gets you into that mind of that frame of mind. No abstraction layers, no hiding of complexity. Everything that this board does is on that board there. There's no extra pieces there, and every signal is traceable on the board. If you've got an oscilloscope, you can actually trace the digital signals and see that data moving around the board as well if you wish. And it's perfect for learning assembly language if that's something you're interested in. So it really takes you back to the basics of how processors work. There's the nostalgia and fun angle, so you can experience 1980s computing firsthand. The basic interpreter is really quite responsive. I was quite surprised at how snappy that seemed, given that this is quite old now, like nearly 50-year-old processor on there. I think next year it's 50 years old, isn't it? Yeah, and write some programs that run on bare metal. You can join a passionate community of other RC2014 people that are out there. Hackability wise, it's fully open source design. You can design your own modules, you can modify any aspect of this. No black boxes, no software licenses that are really restrictive or anything like that. So why would you want to build one? Continued. So it's achievable. You can actually do this. You can solder this yourself. It is beginner friendly. I was actually a bit worried about putting this together just in case I made a mess up of it, but it was really straightforward. So yeah, as 555 Circuit Lab says there, Spencer's put all the circuit diagrams of this online available for everyone to look at. So yeah, definitely go and check them out. I'll show you the website in a second. We'll have a go through that. So yeah, soldering through the whole, very, very beginner friendly, very easy to do. It's very well documented build process. It even tells you which order to put things in, a bit like a Lego set. Active community for support, and mine actually did work first time. I could not believe it. Normally with these kinds of things, I'll have soldered something badly, there'd be a bad solder joint, something like that. This worked first time. Real tangible computing, so you can actually flip actual switches, you can see the CPU working, you can hear the beeps and clicks if you've got a kind of sound card or buzzer on there, and there's no OS updates, no cloud, no subscriptions. I don't know what the hate of all the subscriptions is this week, but we can talk about that after the show if you like. Yeah, so that's why we would want to build one. So let's have a look at, I should clearly have taken off some of the animations on this slide. So that 7.3728 megahertz crystal, that's a really unusual clock speed. It's related to if you divide that number by the number just on the top of the screen there by 64, you get 115 and 200 baud, which is the speed that we connect to the FTDI connection on this board. So that's one of the reasons that clock speed set at that speed. So they've got a couple of control chips. These are kind of a family of chips that do all kinds of NAND stuff, so not AND gates. They can flip signals over, and they're related to getting stuff in and out of the ROM, communicating with the UART, and so on. We've also got on here the 5 volts DC in. There's a little power LED. There is a reset button that we use, a little transistor on there as well. Got the bus connector on the very bottom of the board, so this is how we can sort of upgrade and connect other things to the board. Just to make sure they're plugged in nicely there. We've got the memory chip, we've got the CPU itself, and we have the ROM chip. So let me just hold this up to the screen there. So that one with the white sticker on, that's the read-only memory chip. That's got all the programs preloaded on there. Underneath that, down here, we have the RAM. So that's the 64K of RAM, and then this long chip here, that's the actual processor itself. That's the Z80 chip, and this little chip on the side here, that's that UART chip which communicates over this little cable to our computer. We can program it on. So a lot of the very first computers, like the Altair computer, they had like little flip switches and things, and you had to program in your programs by flipping switches, and then that would then load that word into memory. We can do that a little bit better on this chip because we've got this connection through this FTDI link on the side there. There's another link on the side there for a keyboard, so you can actually put a keyboard directly onto this as well, which is pretty cool. And you can see we have this little bank selector thing. We've got these little jumper connectors. These are just on the bottom of the board here. So what we can do with these, if I just hold this a bit closer here, so you can select different programs from the ROM. We'll do that in the demo in a second. So if you don't actually have any selected, so you can see these two jumpers are kind of off to the side. They're actually not connected to anything themselves. That will load up the Microsoft Basic. So we'll have a play with that first. There's another version of Microsoft Basic by Phil Green. That one we just select Bank 2. If we select Bank 2 and Bank 4, we have this system monitor, which is quite cool, by Steve Cousins. We can play with Camel Forth. We'll do that in a demo in a second. There's another version of Microsoft Basic, and then we've got this assembly language system control as well. If you have the CPM, you can then load it up via Bank. What's that? The 16K Bank. And then you can have the Basic included in there as well. So it does require some additional hardware, that one. We can do that on the larger one if I'd have soldered all that one together. So wow, Dale owned a Altair 88. That's pretty impressive. So if you like what I do, you want me to make more of these kinds of videos, definitely drop me a like in this video. Let me know in the comments if you had an 80s computer as well. I know a lot of my audience is that kind of age group, so let me know what kind of computer you had and what that was replaced by. So what computer did you then move on from that? So the first computer I inherited was that Spectrum that my brother had from the 1982. He got a +3 with a little disk drive, so I inherited the upgraded 48K ZX Spectrum, and I played on that for quite some time. I didn't really understand programming very well at the time, but I did dip into some of the program listings that are in the magazine that we used to get. We used to get the Crash magazine, and they would literally print out source code, and you had to type it in bit by bit. But it's quite easy to do on a Spectrum. You didn't have to type out the full word like print. You just press the P key, and that would put the word print on the screen, which is quite good. So quite a lot of debugging was kind of built in just by the fact that they'd made it work that way. So yeah, definitely subscribe as well. If you've not subscribed to the channel, it costs you absolutely nothing. It'd be the best Christmas present for me to get more subscribers. So if you've not subscribed already, definitely press that subscribe button. I do go live every single Sunday, 7 o'clock GMT. So if you want to catch me on the live stream after the show, we have a bit of a hangout and talk about stuff there as well. Cool, let's get into a bit of a demo with the RC2014 Mini 2. So let me get over to the overhead. What I'm going to do as well, just zoom in a little bit on this camera. So let me just zoom in a bit there. And I'm just going to arrange this cable so it doesn't keep sliding off. There we go. So that board is kind of upside down there. That's the kind of orientation that we like to look at it in. So let me just get my notes up as well. So the first thing I'll do is just talk you through the board then. So we've got the 5-volt jack here. It does actually come with a cable, like a barrel connector with a USB cable, so you can actually plug this in and power it through that if you wish. You can also power it through the FTDI connector, so you just have to put that little jumper on there and that powers the entire board from the USB. We've then got a couple of resistors. Not 100% sure what they do, but you can see the actual traces of the board there connect to these 2 chips, and these 2 chips are kind of control chips. They do all kinds of signal modification. This is the ROM chip. This is the read-only memory where all the programs are stored. So I know Spencer must have manually programmed all these himself, which is quite a task. We've got little bank selectors up there, so we'll move one of those over in a minute and have a play with 4th. Then got another bunch of resistors on there. These are all pretty much the same value. I think there's 4 or 5 of one value and 3 or 4 of another value. That little jumper there just provides the power to the board from this FTDI connector. There's a keyboard connector there. This is the UART that does the communication between the CPU and this FTDI. This is the RAM, so we've got 64K of RAM. I think it's 64. And then we've got the main Zilog CPU just here. And you can see we've also got this nice header pin, so we can add things to this board as well. There's even a little button here we can press which will reset the CPU. The other thing I just want to show you just before we go over to the programs as well is the home page for RC2014. So let me just get this a bit larger so you can see what's going on. So RC2014.co.uk, this is Spencer's website where he gives you all the kind of information, and you can buy kits as well from here. So the kit I've got here today is the Mini 2, which is that one just there. And you can see there you get an assembly guide, you get the PDF schematic of how it actually works. You got all the information about all the different banks that we looked at before on that other slide, FTDI pinouts, that graphic that I stole from this site as well, and then all the different bits of software as well as that small computer monitor, the SCM, which allows you to do all kinds of low-level stuff with assembling and deassembling assembly code, which is just amazing. There you go, and this is kind of what it looks like. We'll have a look on this live in a second. So yeah, definitely check that out. You can see all the different boards that are available. So if I go back to the, so I think I've got the Pro version. I think it's the Classic Pro I've got. So that's Classic 2. Let's see if I can find the one that I have on here. So I've got the Backplane Pro. Yep, that's the one I've got. And then I've got quite a few different of the modules on here. So we've got like the dual clock module, all the ones that I held up before the beginning of the show. Cool. So that's the website. Just want to make sure that I showed that off before we did anything else. So let's go back to over here, and what we can do as well. Not that there's anything that actually to see when the board's running, but I just want to kind of show you it up here. And what I'm also going to load up is a terminal. So I'm going to make this a bit larger so we can actually see what's going on. Let me just stretch this out a bit and then zoom in. So terminal, so it's plus. Let me just do that a little bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to connect using PicoCom, which is a little utility which allows you to connect to serial devices. You can specify what the baud rate is. That's the baud rate that we talked about before, which is the clock speed of the device divided by 64. And then we're going to send this command to the board, which is slow send. This is just a way of uploading programs to the board from this Mac. And there's the serial that I've got this connected. If I press that, and if I just move this up a little bit, you'll see that we have this terminal ready. So if I press this little reset button on here, you'll see that we get this little message here that says RC2014 MS Basic Loader, Z88DK, and then cold or warm start. I'm going to say C for cold start, memory top, I'll press return. And then we're straight into the basic interpreter. So if I type in a very basic program such as 10 print hello world, oops. Now, interestingly, if you press the delete key, it doesn't actually delete, it kind of goes forward. You have to press Control and H, I've discovered, to make it go back. So if I do hello world like that, press return, 20, go to 10, and then if I then type run, it will then run this hello world. It looks a bit strange. Let's just do Control C there to break it. And then you can type things like list to list the program. So let's do 10 print hello world. I've done that again, hello world. I'll do 10 print hello space world list. There we go. Let's run that again. That looks a bit better. Cool. So I'm just going to shrink this down a little bit, this screen, just so that we can see everything that's on this screen at the moment. Right. So we type a list, we can see what's in the memory. If we want to clear the memory, you can type in new. I remember that from the Spectrum days. And this is Microsoft Basic, so this was available on things like the Apple II, I believe, as well. So there's some really cool programs that you get that you can access through. Let me just grab, if I got the website for that. I think there's a GitHub repository that has all this, and I'll link it in the description. I might have already linked it in the description. If I've not, I'll definitely put a blog article about that very, very soon. So what I'm going to do on this terminal, I'm going to press Control A and Control S, and this isn't now the Z80. This is kind of the terminal PicoCom program. Allows me to load programs. So if I just type in the path of this code that I want to load in, so this is the, it's not basic, it's the RC2014 basic programs, the Mandelbrot program, and then there's an ASCII program in there. If I press that, it'll read that in, and it'll kind of pretend to type it into the terminal. So you can see there we've got this program. If I type list, we can see there this is a Mandelbrot drawing program. So if I press run, we will now get a Mandelbrot drawing on our screen. It's a little bit slow. This is one of the limitations of the speed of this processor and the kind of method that it's doing this. Mandelbrot is a really intensive program. One of the first programs I used to run on the 386, I think it was a 386 or a 486 that I had back in the day, was the Fractint, which was a fractal integer based program, and it could draw all kinds of graphics. I used to print these out on a little dot matrix printer that we had as well. So you can probably just about make out the shape. If I go full screen on this and make this a bit bigger, you'll be able to see this Mandelbrot kind of take shape. There's quite a few different Mandelbrot designs, but this is kind of the most famous one. Yeah, I think in the late 80s, 90s, the Mandelbrot set was quite a popular thing that people would see everywhere. So you can see that kind of the more intense the calculations get towards the middle here, the slower it gets a little bit, and then it carries on drawing it. So while it does that, I'm just going to get my other notes up there. Right, we'll do some fourth next as well. So you can probably just about see this. While that's doing it then, I'm just going to grab Google Chrome and just move this off to the side. And let's just find Mandelbrot. Mandelbrot. There we go. So that's kind of what the Mandelbrot looks like. Let's go for images. See if we can find a nicer version of this. There we go. This is kind of a text version of that Mandelbrot. So you can see there, Mandelbrot is a two-dimensional set that is defined by a complex plane as complex numbers with the function fcz equals z squared plus c. Get rid of that. And you can kind of keep zooming in infinitely on this as well, which is quite cool. That was one of the cool things about running this program on a slightly faster processor. You could select an area and zoom in, and it would have to sort of render that out. It's quite cool that we can get a Z80 to do this. I didn't think this would be capable of it, but yeah, you can even run this on a Raspberry Pi Pico or an Arduino because they're a little bit faster than this chip. So you can probably make out now we've got the main kind of circle, then there's the little circle that comes off there and the little spike, and then similar there's another circle there with another spike, another circle there with another spike. So kind of does look like that original one. That's kind of what we're seeing here, but it's a bit squished out. So you can make out that bit just there is this top bit just here. This main kind of body is this large white area here, and then this little head is this area just here. Really cool. So I think this is one of the programs that either Spencer wrote or one of the community put together. What I will do, I'll just find that just off screen on the other one, and I'll bring that up as well. So the GitHub RC, there we go. If I grab that, I can then tell you who wrote that Mandelbrot program and give you a bit of information about that. So if I just paste that in there. So here we go. This is the Git repository. So if you go to RC2014 Z80, so I think that is Spencer's repository. There is this basic programs repository within that account, and in there's the Mandelbrot, and you can see there the ASCII. This is the one that we're actually running here. So there's the code if you're interested in that. 23 lines of code. Quite impressive that that's all it takes to draw out such an unusual shape. You can see that that's running there. And yeah, it's quite a simple language basic. It doesn't have things like, you have an if statement, but you don't have if else. So you can have if and you have then. So there's no else, there's nothing else. You just have to have several if statements all next to each other. You have for loops. For are usually followed by next. So if you have for y, there'll be a next y. That's kind of the block of code. One of the complaints, if you like, about BASIC is it does lend itself to spaghetti code, having these go-to statements. So go to 100 means go to line 100, and that would run through there until you get the next go-to. So that says go to 100, so it'd loop around that kind of infinitum until whatever condition's met up there. So yeah, you haven't really got that kind of structure of functions. You just have go-to statements. One of the reasons that we have these blocks of 10, if you wanted to insert a number between 20 and 30, you could create a new line that's called line 21, and that would kind of squeeze it between those two lines. And there is a command, I can't remember what it is, to renumber all the lines that are in there. So we could do that. So let me just find that basic renumber command. So I think it might just be renum. So what we can do, we can, I think we nearly finished actually drawing out that Mandelbrot. Let's have a look. It should get a little bit quicker towards the end as it's got less complexity to calculate, and then it will have finished the whole thing at that point. Do you remember typing any programs in yourself? Let me know in the comments if you did have a computer magazine and you typed in any code into the basic interpreter. You'll also notice as well, it's all uppercase. We can type it in lower uppercase. It's not fussy about that. It just converts everything to uppercase. And there isn't that many reserved words in BASIC. So it's quite a straightforward language to learn. There we go. It says, okay, it's finished drawing that. So there's our Mandelbrot, which is quite a cool program to run. We can have a look and see what other programs that we have on here. So I've got this repository downloaded. So there's Mastermind. That's the my nana used to have the Mastermind. She had the game. There's like a Vietnamese lady on the front cover. I always remember that. It's a strange one. You have to sort of guess what colour pegs are on in like a hidden area, and you had so many guesses to guess the sequence of them. There's one that's called Quest. Not sure what we have on there. We can have a look at Quest. So Quest, I think, is a dragon-based one. So from the 1979 July edition of Byte magazine, a light adventure game. Back in the day, I adapted the game to COBOL, as I didn't have access to a microcomputer. This version was pasted from a PDF I found in the internet tubes, so it had a few OC errors. I hope it fixed them all, and also some small changes to make it run in RC2014 Basic. There you go, so converted by Daniel Quadros. Cool. So yeah, expects input in uppercase. So we can run that one as well. If I go back here, press Control A, Control S, I can then do so users Kev RC2014 and then Quest. It will load that into memory, and all being well, we can then run that and see if that that works as well. So you get like a little beep 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 when it's finished loading in. We can go back to that kind of joint view on there, so you don't really get any kind of activity. There's no flashing lights or anything on the board. It is just running everything in that little CPU there into RAM from the little ROM chip. So this Quest one, I think it is quite a few lines of code, so it does take a little while to load up. But once it's loaded, we can then have a play with it. I'll wait for that to show us that it's loaded. So yeah, back in the day, you'd have had to type these in yourself. Look, I think there's quite a number of lines of code on this. I'm pretty sure if I go to this other terminal I've got just off screen here, and I type in word count Quest, there's 521 lines of code, which is quite a lot. Let's run this and hopefully it will work. There we go. So it says, let's make that a bit easier so we can see it on the screen. Let's go full screen on this one. So you're walking through the woods and you came across an entrance of a cave covered with brush. People say that many years ago a pirate hid his treasure in these woods and no one ever found it. Sounds like Oak Island. May still be there for all I know. When you answer a question, I look at the only first letter, although I can type the whole word if you want. So there we go. It's got north, south, east, west, up, down, and P for score. So you're outside the cave. Go south to enter. So if I press S, you know, in the lower chamber, a tight tunnel goes east and you can walk to the south or west. Let's go south. So Dale says you need to type in, just to bring that up on screen. WL, so let's do that. So let's see that. So if I do -L, yeah, 521 lines of code. So it is quite a big program. There's just a lot of text. I think most of the code, if we list this code out, is just text. So yeah, we can. You're at home of the Gnome King. Fortunately, he's gone for the day. So I can press P for score. Got 2 points. Can I go south, west, east? So I can go west on there. Oh, east, north or south. Let's go south. Oops. South. You're on the brink of a pit. South, you are dead. You're at a dead end. So I'll not play this game all the way through because it could take quite a bit of time. But what I would have done back in the day is draw out a little map as I was going, as a kind of a diagram, little boxes showing which ways I could go from there. So yeah, quite a lot of code in there. You can see if we go through here, it's a lot of print statements. There's lots of these go subs. Just kind of block out the code. Each block is a line that you can go to and run through, and a bit like a choose your own adventure there, with a couple of variables for things like score and you know, the state. There you go. Look at all that on J, go to, and all those different positions. There we go. Cool. So what I want to do next then is go to the board and change. I want to unplug it first of all. And what I'm going to do next is change that little jumper there, and I'm going to put it to the end position. I think if I put it to that position just there, like so, I think that makes us boot up into fourth, which is another language. So let me jump back to the terminal. So obviously that's crashed out because I disconnected it. So if I now connect it again, I press the reset button, you can see now we're in Z80 Camel Fourth. So I have a fourth program here. If I very carefully type this in, hopefully it will work. So the first thing we do is a colon, then we say stars, space n minus minus, space. Apparently spaces before and after the brackets are very important as well. And then do 42, emit loop. Hopefully that's right. Yep, it's happy with that. Triangle, bracket n minus minus, bracket 1, do I, stars, CR, loop, 10, triangle. Now I don't think I typed that second line quite correct, so I think this will probably not work. Yeah, so what I need to do, if I copy that line there and then just copy that, do colon space and then that whole thing, that's worked now. So if I now type in the word 10 triangle, 10, let me just do that again, 10 triangle. There we go. So that little program draws out that little shape just there. Amazing. I'm not a fourth expert. It is a very effective language. If you type in words, you get all the reserved words for fourth. I was actually invited to join a fourth group on the was it Facebook? There's some people who have got fourth working on the Raspberry Pi Pico. So yeah, it's been ported to basically every type of chip. And I think at the time it was a very high level language compared to assembly language or basic. There's a lot more that you can do in fourth that you can in them. And it's quite an elegant language. But like every language, it has its sort of foibles in there. So that's Camel Fourth. Yeah, not a lot you can do if you don't type the correct words in there. If I type exit, does it do anything? It just says OK. Cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to unpower it again. I'm going to remove that little chip, that little jumper from the fourth one. Just put that off to the side, like so. And if we now plug that board back in, make sure those cables that have come out a little bit are pushed back in. And then if I just plug this back into the Mac, we can then once again connect to it. And this time, let's move that there. If I press the reset button, we should get back to the Microsoft Basic. So we can have a cold or warm start. Let's do W for warm start. I do a list. Interestingly, it thinks there's a lot in the memory there, so we can actually do a new. If I do a list now, I've not got anything in memory, which is good. That was the difference between the cold and warm start. I believe you can basically get it to wipe the memory, so there's nothing going on there. Cool. I think there's probably one more program in there that I can load up. So let's go for users. Kev. RC2014 programs, and I created an area called basic, and in there's a little Xmas tree program. So let's see why is it not happy with that. Let me type this in because it's probably easier for me to type this in. What I'll do, I'll just cheat. I'll just go over here, go into basic. Cat Xmas tree .bas. Yeah, it's only a couple of lines of code, so let's just get that. I'll just take that off screen over there, and I'll make this one full screen so that we can see what I'm typing. So I'm going to do new. I'm going to do 10 rem. So that rem is like a comment, a reminder, I think it is. Xmas tree. So yep, 20 print, and then you've got this character string. and then you type in a value, and I think it's like the ASCII character, I think. Semicolons mean you can type multiple things on the same line, I believe. Let me know if I'm wrong in the comments there. 2J, and then character $27, and then H, brackets H. I think the idea is you don't know what this is until you've typed it in. So what have I done wrong there? Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cheat. I'm going to copy these lines from this little terminal thing I've got here. So if I paste that in there. So why is it not happy with that? I don't understand what's going on there. Try not to make any mistakes. Yep, it's got a problem with that. Okay, so that's not going to work. Let's just do new, and then let's try loading that in again. Basic. No, it's not happy with that. I'm not sure what's going on there. Let's try resetting it and do a cold start. Right, let's try that again. It might have just been that there was something that needed flushing out. Because I did test this before. There we go, it's worked fine now. So imagine I just typed all that in. If I type in run, we get a little Christmas tree and it says Merry Christmas. How cool is that? So let's have a look at our program as well. So you can see there we've got a little print. So that character there, character 27 and that. Not actually sure what they do. And then we've got H10 print, and then for I equals 1 to H. So from 1 to 10. For S, from 1 to H minus I, print a space, next S, and then we have the same again. So there's a little loop that's going to increase the number of stars that appear as the lines go down, and it's going to count that down, I'm guessing 10 lines down. And then there's a bit at the bottom there that just has those 3, and we do that twice. Yeah, so S from 1 to 2, I think that is. And then it says print Merry Christmas, so that's quite cool. See, you'd spend ages in these magazines typing things out, and if you make any kind of mistake, you'd have to figure it out yourself. Sometimes they had typos in the code, and you wouldn't know that. You just have to learn how to spot what the issues are and fix it yourself. So that is the RC2014 chip, or single computer board. You can see there, rc2014.co.uk, and it takes about an hour to solder that together. It's pretty straightforward to do, and the instructions are all on the website, and you do get a nice paper version of that as well. If I open up the kit, see the remnants of all the bits and pieces there. If I just zoom back a little bit now, I can kind of show you what you get when you open this. Oops, sorry, when you open this up. So you get this nice colour folded piece of A4. It tells you what the kit contents are. It tells you the order that you should solder things in. There's all kinds of bits of information. I do like the style of this as well. It tells you about the little L bracket thing there. They call that the 2-pin right angle header. And that's for the FTDI 5V input, as well as selecting which board, which ROM you want to use. There's the schematic. There's the ROM selection, and then first power up. And yeah, I was really impressed with how easy this was to put together, and the fact that it did work on the first boot just tells me how robust a kit and good design this is. as well. So very, very impressed with that. Can't wait now to build the bigger one and maybe have some kind of case that goes in that as well. Kind of 1980s style. Cool, cool. So that's the demo. Hope you enjoyed that little demo we did there. So if you want to join our Discord community, we've got a really great Discord community. There's quite a few hundred people on there now. So go to kezrobots.com/discord. That will ask you for your email address. You can then check your email, check your junk folder. You will eventually get an email through. It can sometimes take 3 minutes and then it goes to your junk. That's just a Discord thing. That's nothing to do with my website or automation behind that. If you want to follow me on social media, I know I've had quite a few people follow on TikTok recently, so I need to check out what people have asked for on there. So I'm on Kevin McAleer 6 on TikTok. I'm on Threads, Kevin McAleer at threads.net, on Instagram at Kevin McAleer, on X at KevsMac, on Mastodon at KevsMac on Mastodon.social, and I'm also on Blue Sky at kevsmac.bsky.social as well. So if you're on any of those platforms, give me a follow, share a picture of a project you're working on. I always enjoy seeing what people are working on. And I also share behind the scenes pictures and information and stuff that's kind of generally going on as well. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff I could talk about on here as well. And if you want to join the support the channel kind of financially, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can help join me by going to kezrobots.com/coffee. You can buy me a one-off coffee, or if you want to do this as a monthly kind of donation, you can do that as well. Currently this is my only source of income, so every coffee does help. So you can also do super thanks and super chats as well, depending if you're watching this live or on replay. And like I said, you can also join the YouTube membership program. So let's give a shout out to people who've done exactly that. So on the left hand side here, we have the people who very kindly bought some coffees. So Michael Carroll, Stephen Hodgkinson, Peter H. Martin, Rory Jersey IT Guy, and Cubulus Corny. They've all bought a bunch of coffees. They've kept me going these past couple of weeks. And then membership wise, we've got Pietro, Warren, Anonymous, Silicon Fiber, Marie TKD, Jeff, Dean Corty, Marlin, and Tom. Thank you so much for your continued support. On the YouTube side, we've got Brian, Shriva, Marie, Pete, Dale from Hybrid Robotics. We've got Oxford39, Warren, Pierre Eves, Bert, Michael, Steve, Ford, Bello, Stephen, John Paul, Cassie, Johnny, and Tom. How's your arm doing, Cassie? Well, that's on the mend. And yeah, thank you so much for your continued support. It's meant so much to me that you've continued to support me. Quite a few people are on an over 1 year memberships at this point, so thank you again so much. It does mean that I can buy some of these kits, and I know, Jeff, you were talking about wanting some more hardware based projects, so tried to see what I've got that I've not already covered off, and this one was kind of set up there in my shelf of bits and pieces, so I thought I'd cover this off this week. So let's go back to over here. So Jeff was saying, how do you get the monitor connected to the board? So what you need to do on that one is there is a module, one of these kind of module boards, and they have, this is for the classic version, and one of those has a VGA output, so you can connect up a VGA monitor to that. I don't think I've got that particular board. Let's look and see what I have actually got on there. Yes, dual serial and flash storage. So I can run CPM, which is one of the things I do want to get running on there. And you can connect. I don't think I have a picture of it, but I did have. I'll have a look through on my second monitor and see if I can find that. When I went to Liverpool Make Fest about 3 years ago, where Spencer had all these kits out there, and he had a VGA monitor with the Mandelbrot thing running on there. So Liverpool, search for that and see if I can find a picture of it. I may well have one. If I have, I'll bring it up on my main screen. If not, I shall carry on with what we're looking at here. I don't think I've got one of it. I didn't take too many pictures, so I was so in the moment when I was there last time. Actually, what's that? Right, okay, so I have got, so that's Liverpool. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to find that. I'm going to go back to me for a second, and I shall find this quick video of the stall that Spencer had, because I have actually got a video of that. So Liverpool, this is where I purchased them. So if I just quickly find that again on here, yeah, there's all kinds of Daleks and things out, which was pretty cool. Okay, and then there it is. So I'm just trying to find it again on my main computer now, which it looks like that. There we go. Right, let me just bring that up. So this was the kits, and there's a monitor. There's Spencer talking away there as well. So if I go back to that one, no, I thought we might have a picture of it actually running. You can see there, look at that, that's a nice little module. There's the VGA connector, and there's the monitor running CPM, which is pretty cool. So yeah, definitely check those out if you've not seen them before. I'm sure Spencer would appreciate any extra sales that he gets from people buying these kits. So definitely check those out. I can't remember the prices of these, but yeah, the Z80 chips themselves are quite expensive, I believe. So they're not as cheap as like buying an Arduino, is what I'll say. But absolutely tons of fun, and yeah, definitely recommend that. Cool. So yes, I think at this point in the video we have the little spinny logo. That tells me that YouTube is going to recommend over here another video for you to watch from the over 450 I think we've got now on the channel videos. Definitely check out that video that is recommended for you there, and I shall see you all next time. So thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye for now. Now if you're watching this live, we'll have a bit of a quick chat, see what people have been talking about. So let me just scroll up to the top, see what people have been talking about. So Jeff says, it's Santa. So yes, I bought this just for the show. Hope you appreciate it. So Laurie said that 286 had a 40 megabyte hard drive. I remember buying a 40 megabyte hard drive, and that being, you know, it seemed like massive amounts of storage at the time. Seems quite small now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab that, make that a bit bigger there, so we can see what people are saying. I'm going to grab that up there, just make that bit bigger. I'm going to put that comment up again there, Peter, sorry about that, and then just make that larger. There we go. If I put that there we go, that's better. Cool. He says love Showtime. Looks like, looking at their website, looks like you have every one of their modules. Not quite. I have got a lot of the modules. So the Pro kit that I got does come with, like I said, a lot of the modules. So you pretty much have a full spread of things that it can do. The compact flash being the one that means that you can run CPM. It actually has a compact flash card with CPM pre-installed on it, which is pretty cool. Watching from night shift at the Malta Freeport. Awesome. Yeah, I visited Malta back in the day when I was, I think I was 16, with a couple of friends. We all got bad stomachs because you're not supposed to, from the UK, you're not supposed to drink the ice over there, the water. I think we had ice in our drinks, so that wasn't great. We all got fixed up though pretty soon after that. Hey Marie, how's it going from Pasadena? Home of the New Year's Day parade. Awesome. We've got Alistair Ware watching from Central Middlesex Hospital. Hope you're working there, not visiting there as a patient. If you are, all the best, and hope you get well soon. Hi Marlene, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Where's Ford hiding? I forget his new handle. I'm not sure. Yeah, I've not seen Ford on here today. Have to check out where Ford is up to. Hey, how's it going? So 555 Circuits Lab has also built a RC2014, so I'm in good company. Honestly, they are one of the funnest things to do. Will it run Doom? So with it being an 8-bit chip, unfortunately, it can't run Doom, Lionel. Sorry about that. So Aliceware says, I would like a 6502 or 6809 version. Cool. Just finished watching your Build an AI series. It was amazing. Thanks. Please continue it though. I'm very interested. I shall make a note of that because I am looking, with it being the new year very soon, I'm looking to see what I should be working on in the new year. So, so a request from for so that AI series. I wrote that series before AI. Large language models were a thing, so it's it could probably do with quite a bit of revamping, I suspect there. So Dale's just got out of bed. Awesome. Dale remembers Zork. I remember seeing Zork 2, was it? The graphical version, and that being like really quite impressive graphics at the time. Best source of everything tech, hands down. Glad I found this channel. Oh, thank you for that. I do appreciate that. Yeah, Spencer's done an amazing job. Puts all his circuit diagrams for the RC2014 online, which is pretty amazing. First saw Zork on an Osborne Luggable. Yeah. My dad used to work in tech back in the day for radio rentals. Anybody remembers that company? And yeah, we got all kinds of kit. So things like Wise PC 286. I used to have that in the kitchen. That was my computer. John Wilson says, the Z80. My favourite 80s, pun intended, processor. I wrote a book on the Z80 machine programming in the 1980s. It's now available on the Internet Archive. Can I give it a plug? Of course you can, John. Give it a plug. Dale owned an Altair 8800B, which is pretty amazing. VIC-20, Commodore 64, and then Amiga 500. So yeah, one of the things I like about the, you can just see that white line above my head there. That's a Raspberry Pi 500 Plus. That's just on top of my Prusa printer there. So that kind of harks back to the Amiga 500 days. I know that was Eben Upton's machine when he was a kid. He had a BBC and then went to the Amiga after that, I believe. 6502 assembly came in useful for my first job that used 6803, which is kind of similar. And while I typed in Frogger from a magazine for my girls, it had that made it crash. Went through the code and found the error, contacted the magazine, and they printed the amendment months later. That's awesome. And I now have your BBC in my other room over there. I should have got it out for this program, really, shouldn't I? Brings back nightmares of programming in BASIC. So yeah, it would just give you these really vague kind of error messages, nothing really helpful. I know one of the things that's improved in the latest version of Python, for example, is how they handle error messages. They're much better. So how do you connect to monitor? I think we covered that off. Normally you don't, you run over serial terminals only, but there are cards for the RC2014, the Pi Pico doing VGA output, a graphics card, where the CPU is way faster than the Z80. So I was thinking about this before the show actually. A lot of the time graphics cards are way faster than your main CPU anyway. They're just very dedicated to doing that. So CPUs are for kind of general computing. Graphics cards are just very good at putting triangles with textures on screen very, very quickly. And that's why there's a bit of a shortage at the moment on memory chips, and there was a shortage of NVIDIA graphics GPUs, and that was because people can use them for large language models. And slightly before that, the big kind of draw for these is the cryptocurrency mining, so people could use them to do all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they're very good and very fast, and usually much faster than your usual processor, but usually very expensive as well. So Peter says RC2014 is a blast to mess with, love mine. It did his from scratch as well. Yeah, it could be interesting, but the amount of soldering would cost me the last spare remainders of my sanity and then some. It's not as difficult as you think. I'm not great at soldering, and I was put off. That's why I've not built the second one yet, which is the first one I bought, ironically. I bought the second one and thought that would be much easier. Peter's been doing some work with the 6809 since 1982. So yep, they're still around. People still use them. The point taken trend continues since then. Yeah, exactly. So it is something that, yeah, graphics processors generally being more powerful, having more RAM and so on your main general processor, but they're just tuned to that very specific task. So can you still get parts for these? The Z80 40-pin DIMM package has been discontinued. So yes, these chips, they do say Zilog on them. I'm not sure whether this is like a what am I trying to say? Remanufactured version. But yeah, there is still demand for them, so you can still get them. I think they're just a bit more expensive than probably a more powerful, single board computer. But the fact that you build this yourself and that you know how everything works, I think for me is part of the joy of putting this together. One of the things I was thinking about doing a show on is you can actually build your own Arduino Uno. There is kits available for these. You can get the I've got a whole box of them up there. These Atmel 80 mega chips, so you can actually get these and program them yourself using the Arduino IDE. So yeah, it's pretty fun to do. Pete says it seems like only the 6502s are still being made. Yeah, so what processor is in the is it the 6502 that's in the Commodore? I know the what's the guy called? Perifractic, who does the Retro Recipes channel. He's bought Commodore, the name, and is now manufacturing a new Commodore that's an 8-bit computer from back in the day. They are still now being manufactured, I think, by PCBWay. I think they're using their factories to do a lot of the fabrication there. So it's pretty amazing that these things are still available to buy. I did actually have a visit, and I've been meaning to put together some content for that. I did visit, let me just find it, the Northwest Computer Museum, and they had all kinds of stuff. In fact, if I go to here and share my screen, that's a hard disk from back in the day, and there's the flyer that they had for the Northwest Computer Museum. That's a bit of a room of BBCs all running. All the kit that they have here runs, which is pretty impressive. We had a bit of a tour from the guys just off camera, I think. That's that computer that you can just see on screen there. That's a Sinclair PC, which is quite a rare find. There's a whole bunch of Spectrums there. There's a little Spectrum. I think, is that a micro drive? I think it might be. And there's a Plus, Spectrum Plus, I think, and Plus 2 next to it. There's a ZX81 in a little bag. There you go. There's that PC 200 that they had. Very, very rare. So that was kind of in the style of an Amiga or an Atari ST, that kind of wedge-shaped design. Even has a Sinclair branded monitor on there as well. There's a little computer there running the screen on that one. DOS. Some kind. They had all kinds of things like Big Track with the trailer as well, so you can put an Apple and present it into another room. They had all kinds of software. Look at that. Auric Horizons, which is what you got with your Sinclair ZX Spectrum. Hungry Horace and the Spiders. So it brings back all kinds of memory. They had a wall of all kinds of information as well about... so, yep, they even had a selection of Macs. I've got that in my loft, that Mac Pro. I did have the Mac Mini there as well. I never had the iMac, but I have got one of these Macs. I used to have it just behind me on camera. You can see in some of the early videos. They had the internet as well, which is quite cool. That's from the IT crowd, I believe. And yeah, they've got a whole bunch of Macs on there as well. And this one was a luggable with this tiny little CRT right in the middle. They must be pretty heavy. And that's kind of what it looks like as a room just full of computers. And they're all up and running, and you can just sit at one and have a play. So yeah, pretty cool. I was quite impressed with that. They had a Silicon Graphics SGI, is it an Irix or a Oxygen? I can't remember which one that is. But yeah, they were like thousands of pounds. That's from the, not that one, but from the movie Jurassic Park, when that girl says it's a Unix system. It's running on one of those SGIs, I understand. On the side there, but yeah, they had racks full of all kinds of kit. And yeah, that was the computer that my brother got for his Christmas one year, the ZX Spectrum Plus +3. And just to the side of that is a Sinclair QL, which is the kind of, there you go, there's the QL. I always wanted one of these. That was the Quantum Leap. I think that ran on the 6502, which is quite cool. All kinds of extra bits and pieces. There's a TRS-80. Look at that. Really retro looking machine there. They had a whole load of them. Look at that. They look really dated. There you go. You got a BBC computer there. Spectrum. The Spectrum had this little pack on it, so they could load up from an SD card a whole load of programs. I watched my brother play this game for hours. Attic Attack. But not played too much of that. There's a ZX81. I typed in that little hello program. My very basic knowledge of BASIC. What else have they got on there? Apple II, which is pretty cool. They've actually got an Apple I computer. I think I showcased that. That's kind of the entrance. There's the guy that owns the place. And yeah, just around the corner in that little glass cabinet is the Apple I. I'm not sure if I go back to that. There we go. That's the Apple I that they had, like a replica. Pretty impressive. Yep, and there's my friend Simon Monk makes. He has his stuff in there, so I took a picture in there of some of his stuff. And they had this wall of magazine discs. Look at all those discs. So yeah, we had a really good time there, as you can tell. I've been meaning to put together a bit of a short video on that, but I've just not got around to it yet. I could go on ad nauseum with that. They did have, like I said, a big track as well, which is pretty cool. Cool. So I hope you enjoyed all that. Let's see what else we've got on there. CorePoint says, okay, last time I got some usable solder done was 35 years ago, and that wasn't on my equipment. When the solder creeps up to your tip, hey, it's hot down there. I'm always surprised how well like the heat is kind of wicked away by the solder. It is pretty impressive. So yeah, you don't need too much soldering knowledge. Just have a bit of flux on hand. That can just make things work so much easier. Just remember, after you've got rid of the you've finished your soldering, to get rid of the flux. Otherwise, you get this kind of rusty effect going on. I can just show you that there. That just needs a bit of alcohol spraying on it, and that kind of rust will disappear. Cool. I hope you enjoyed today's show then, and I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.